How's it going, everybody? Today we're deep diving into the Hammerhead and all of its perks that it's offering. With this being a machine gun, of course it brings tough competition for Commemoration. And since they are both void adaptive frame machine guns, it only makes the question more valid of, is it worth the replacement? The answer to that question is that it is very complicated. You see, both of these machine guns have cherry-picked traits that would make each of these machine guns a meta option. Commemoration having the ability to have a lore accurate machine gun mag size, as well as killing tally for that flat 30% damage bonus over just killing 3 enemies. And though Hammerhead does have Envious Assassin, it is supposed to be an add clear weapon. So the idea to not use my add clear weapon so I can add clear to use my add clear weapon later doesn't make too much sense to me. So it's not really my first option, but triple the mag size is quite funny to see. But Hammerhead taking that 30% from killing tally and beefing it up with Rampage's 33% in damage increase makes for some really intense ad clearing no matter what difficulty you decide to be in. But enough comparing, let's get into a couple of these perks. So when it comes to machine guns, we use these for one purpose and one purpose only. From red bars to yellow bars, and of course I am roping in champs with that as well. Which brings me to the god roll of Rampage and Killing Tally, which I don't have. So I will be using a slightly less convenient, but just as potent roll of Rampage and Desperate Measures. For Desperate Measures and Killing Tally, both ramp up to a 30% increase in damage, essentially making them the same perk, but you just proc them differently. And as you can see in this Legend Lost sector, we are shredding. But with champs in mind, I want to talk about a perk that I've been seeing a little bit too much hype over. And this would be the perk Under Over. I'm not going to say it's too hyped because it was only a very niche group that I saw this in, but it was a group that tends to spread their opinion quite rapidly. Under Over is a very weird perk, for it increases your damage to shields. And yes, this can be beneficial in the right setting, but on a machine gun, I feel like it is very hard to justify using this perk. For in this Legend Lost sector, when I use volatile rounds to get piercing rounds for my machine gun, whether I'm using Under Over or not, in only 4 bullets total, the anti-barrier shield is gone. So is it worth? I will leave that to you. Now I do want to get into Onslaught real quick. Onslaught is an extremely fun perk, that which each kill, stacking up to 3 times, your machine gun will just start shooting faster. This is not an increase in damage, but it is an increase in DPS, which of course is beneficial in any scenario. Want to melt champs? Done. Want to melt yellow bars just a bit faster? Done. Does this even matter in terms of red bars? Not really. But does it warrant to use? Absolutely. But with Onslaught being a perk and ramping up your rounds per minute out, this comes with the fact that your magazine will deplete even faster, which comes with the complement perk idea of Rewind Rounds. I tried so hard to say that right. I don't have this perk, so I used math to figure out how big your mag size would be if you had Rewind Rounds. In gist, if you have a mag size of 73, which Hammerhead can get, you will have a mag size of close to 150 rounds, which is quite nice. And because I used steady rounds on my Commemoration with Reconstruction, I only get 126 rounds. So in terms of mag size, Hammerhead is just better already for me. Now there's not a lot of people that know this one little trick, and that's because the perk doesn't state it at all, is that Onslaught final blows with this weapon increase the rate of fire, and that's it. What it doesn't tell you is that it also increases your reload speed. It's 15 stacks off the first kill and then 10 stacks off the second and third kill. With a base reload, no masterwork or any first or second column perks helping, you are nearly maxed on your reload. Since this machine gun cannot get reconstruction a lot like Commemoration, this does leave the idea that at some point you will need to reload your weapon. Of course, there are ways around this. If you're on a Falcon's Hunter, you have Marksman Dodge for your reload. Or if you're just any class, you could just throw on a Holsterer mod. I understand holsterers are not widely used at all, but trust me, you are definitely sleeping on them because they can come in clutch every once in a while. That's all I'll leave that at. For the next perk we'll go over, it will be Target Lock. And all I have to say about Target Lock is that it's just not worth it. Killing Tally will give you an overall higher damage output, where I do understand that Target Lock at the butt end of the 5 stacks, you get a 110% increase in damage damage. But trust me, it's not as much as you think it is, because we have people out there that did the math, and target lock from the span of the beginning of your magazine all the way down to the end of your magazine was only a 25% increase in your overall damage. Not to mention, you'll never get this to proc off unless you're doing boss damage. You can get 1 or 2 stacks depending on the enemy that you're defeating. You know, champs included, you might be able to get it up to 3 stacks, but that 4th and 5th stack aren't coming unless you are on a boss. And if you're using a machine gun for boss damage, let alone this one, ooh. I'll save my opinions for you. Now, with the existence of target lock and retrofit escapade, there is the 4th times a charm with target lock. And what I have to say about 4th times is that it's still not a good perk for this type of weapon. You have to land 4 precision hits just to get 2 rounds back. And yes, you can make this proc. There are some enemies that are beefy enough to where it'll take more than 4 shots to their head, and then you'll just get 2 shots back in return to the mag. What I'd say is that rewind rounds still's got a beat there. Of course, this is with the idea that you're not going to be using this thing for boss damage, so we can lay off with the target lock and 4th times idea. Now I'm about to tell you something that is actually going to hurt me more than it hurts you. And that's to go over the perk Surrounded. You see, Surrounded is a goat. It's the highest percent increase of damage in the game, with a 40% on anything that's not a sword. And it goes even higher when you're able to enhance this perk. But it's the idea that you have to be surrounded by enemies to get this to proc off. And that's the thing with machine guns, is that I'm not really itching to get knee deep into ads. Rapid fires? I don't even use them to begin with. But if I were to use a machine gun with Surrounded, it'd be with a rapid fire. An adaptive is a borderline sniper to me. That thing hits heads and hard. So I'm taking it medium to long range when I'm entering any combat scenario. And with that reason, that's why I cannot recommend Surrounded. So just to go over it one last time, just to make it completely clear, I only see 2 potential God rolls here. One of them is Rampage with Killing Tally, and the other is Onslaught with Rewind Rounds. If you're doing Onslaught, Alloy magazine would be pretty nice as well. Just food for thought. I'll leave the first column in the magazine to you guys, for, you know, that stuff is just stats we're dealing with now. Not really the big game changes in PvE. But with that, take care and peace.